one of the tires on the board exploded.
Oh, on the bus.
On the bus, and everyone in the bus was like, like freaked out.
Someone's shooting a gun.
Yeah. And I told my mum that I had this big plan. All these people are going to look after me. And it was like this whole organized thing. But it was
Were you lying to her? Or?
Yeah, 100%. Through my teeth. My trucks get stuck on the ramp. I get flinged forward, land on my elbow, completely break my elbow. Would go skate to the local netball courts, but like they don't want you there. They're throwing beer bottles at you. Like it's a completely different world.
Put your helmet on, Dave, because I don't want you to fall and crack your skull. We're going to welcome a very, very special guest. Dylan Warren, welcome to the dos&d show.
Dylan.
Thanks, boys. Hell yeah, it's great to be here.
Mate, we are so stoked to be able to speak to you today, but we were talking off air. We love being transparent here on the dos&d show, and this is a domain that we've gone into the BMX world and the extreme sports world a little bit. Bit of motocross. We've dabbled, but we still are very... Look, we're virgins still when it comes to all this sort of stuff. So
be gentle.
This contraption sitting to your right, that is so foreign to us. But, mate, we're just looking forward to diving into your world. But to give our listeners a bit of background, tell us exactly what you do.
So I guess, I mean, I do a lot of things. I find it hard to like answer this question, especially, in the last year or so. I do a lot of things. I like to think of myself as a doer, but I guess a lot of people know me for my mountainboarding stuff I've done. I've been mountainboarding for about 20 years, and this right here is a mountain board. Is this the first time you guys have seen a mountain board in the flesh?
Yes.
Yeah. So do you want me to talk you through it?
Describe for the listeners,
Okay.
and the ones that are listening, if you want to see this, head over to YouTube to have a watch. But for the listeners, describe it for us.
Okay, so this right here is an MBS mountain board. I kind of like explain it to people as it kind of looks and feels like a snowboard, but then it has trucks and wheels like a skateboard. So it's kind of the perfect combination between skateboarding, snowboarding, and then you add the dirt jump mountain bike element into it as well. So it's kind of encapsulates all of the action sports. So this board here, it's got like a fiberglass plywood deck. So like a similar construction to a skateboard deck, but it's actually wrapped in fiberglass. This one here is good for like freestyles and jumps and all the stuff I like to ride. This is actually my signature board.
Yeah, cool.
So I worked with the company to design.
You designed that?
Yeah. To design the board how I like. It's got this really strong, rigid deck. And then we've got these foot straps on top here. These are called bindings. Now, these are pretty similar to a snowboard binding, but the difference is you don't need to wear big, chunky snowboard boots. You can just wear skate shoes or whatever. So we've got this top strap here that goes on the top of your foot, and then over here we've got a heel strap that goes behind your heel. So on this board, you're fully strapped in. But if you don't like that, you can actually take the heel strap off and still be able to take your feet out. But the reason why I have my feet fully strapped in is you get the most control and the most performance. So on the bottom of the deck, we have these trucks. Now, these are similar to a skateboard truck, but they're like a bit oversized so you can handle that gnarly, rough terrain. And then we've got these 4 8-inch pneumatic wheels that you pump up like a bike tire, but they're obviously a bit smaller. So it's like a big kind of Tonka truck skateboard.
Yeah, right.
To kind of explain it. So yeah, I've been doing it for, I don't really know, but somewhere around 20 years. So it's been a huge part of my life.
So what kind of terrain are we talking? Like you look at your clips on socials and stuff, and it's pretty full on steep kind of, like terrain. Did you skateboard as a kid and then somehow, I don't know, accidentally got lost in a forest and then you ended up going down a hill? How did it work?
Well, you're not far from the truth. I grew up in Emerald in Victoria, and we lived on an 1.5 acre bush property, essentially. And me and my local friends in primary school were really into skateboarding. I still am mega into skateboarding. And we didn't have a skate park. Skateboarding was a lot different back then. Like our closest skate park was a 30-minute drive. Like kids these days are very fortunate because they have $1 million skate parks everywhere in Melbourne now. Yeah. But back then it was like you had to travel to skate. So me and my friends would go to the local school and play Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 and go to the skate park and try and skate the stairs and stuff like that. And we were very hardcore skater kids. And then I had my birthday party at Gembrook Skate Park. And a friend of mine, shout out to Johnny Banford. Johnny Banford brought his mountain board to the skate park. And I was like, dude, what is that whack looking mountain board thing? Like, why are you bringing that to the skate park, dude? You bring the skateboard to the skate park. And he's like, nah, man, it's cool. It's cool. You just need to try it. And I was like, I don't think so, dude. Skating for life, you know what I'm saying? And sure enough, we had the birthday party and it was the end of the day. And Johnny's like, dude, you just need to come to the golf course and we're going to ride some hills. And I was like, fine, John, we'll go to the golf course. So we went down to the local golf course and we're like flying down all the fairways and going super fast and going and jumping over tree roots and just riding a board like I've never experienced before. You know, obviously with skateboarding, you're restricted to concrete. You can only, you know, skate ramps and stuff like that. And you can't, like, unless you're extremely good at skateboarding, it's quite difficult to do like a big jump or go super fast. So when I rode the mountain board, I was like, oh my God, this is an entire new world.
Yeah.
So we're flying down the
The
greens.
greenskeeper would have loved you.
Well, that's what happened.
Like,
We're doing these
loved
big
ya.
slides in the greens. We get to the bottom and the local security comes out, the golf course security, and he chases us out and we're like running with our boards under our arms and we get to the top and we're like hiding in bushes and we're like, oh my God, this is the best day of my life.
yeah.
So literally from that point on, I mean, I guess I was probably like 12 or 13. I haven't stopped and I've been super fortunate to this weird looking wacky board that I never wanted to try is literally taking me around the world, and I've been able to experience so many different cultures and meet so many cool people. It's literally built my life, and it's a very niche sport compared to other big mainstream sports, but even in action sports, it's a little bit smaller. It's still growing, but it's fun, man. It really is. If you're into any action sports, you definitely could pick this up.
Well, I mean, you'll find out. We like to just jump around, so we
Yeah.
don't necessarily follow like a linear path. I can't wait to hear about all the travel exploits and stories and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit, but let's say you're maybe 3 to 5 years into mountain boarding and this whole new world. Where are your goals? Because in other sports you just talked about, there's normally pathways to get to certain levels, whereas you said you're talking about a sport that's a lot more niche and is still growing. What did you want to become? Did you have one eye on, say, something like YouTube or content, or is there a level, a world competition that you can achieve the ultimate high?
I mean, I think about this a lot, and I'm not really too sure. I think I was just like excited by the potential and I didn't really know what the opportunity was. Like back, 3 or 4 years into mountain boarding, I was still really young, and social media wasn't a thing.
Yeah,
like we had a mountain board forum. We used to go on forums to like research where you could buy secondhand boards or you could meet up for rides, and that's what we did. We met up with other mountain boarders in Melbourne, and we went on these ride days. And then I met some of the older guys who were sort of like that 20-year-old range. I was probably like 15, 16. And I just looked up to them.
Yeah.
And then I had my own little clique of friends. And we started making videos on like our mum and dad's like digital cameras that just did video and shit. And we all just got super excited, being super creative, making all these films. And then we like idolized these older guys and we wanted to be like them. And as time went on, we started enter competitions. And then when I got into the competition stuff, I did okay. And that really ignited me to go further. And and then like as time went on, social media came in. We started posting clips on MySpace. And
Jeez, MySpace.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So I had my top 8, they're all Mountainboarders.
Yeah.
Had some punk music playing. It was epic.
It's literally taking me back to
Me
that
too.
time.
Yeah.
MySpace. I wish I
Had
was still
Tom in my
around.
top 8.
Well, I remember like when I first discovered YouTube,
Yeah.
for some reason, like I said to you, I've never been into extreme sports, but I remember my friends and I, we used to just always love watching this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just niche sports
Yeah.
that are just filmed, obviously by amateurs, just random cameras, are just typically people crashing.
I'm just thinking your favourite YouTube video.
I don't
of all
bring
time.
that up.
No, wait. But a guy crashes his bike and he just loves it. He loves that video.
It's only had 600 views ever. But but that's why I asked that question. So sorry to cut you off, but and you'll continue the story. But that's hearing you talk about that has taken us back to that time period.
Yeah. And it was such an important part of my journey because that, I think, is what got me invested in the sport. The fact that, and especially when MySpace kind of came around, you kind of got exposed to people overseas. You're like, oh my God, there's people doing this weird sport in France and Germany and America. And then you start adding them, and then you're talking with people across the world like about this super niche sport. You're sharing, I don't know if you could do videos back then, but photos definitely.
Yeah.
And then Facebook came into the picture, and then you could get videos. So, and then you like your mind opens up to this new world in America where they actually have decent competitions. There's like the US Open of mountainboarding. There's stuff happening in Europe. There's this whole world you couldn't even comprehend. So I think a lot of this, a lot of the social media, a lot of the creativity, a lot of video stuff outside of doing the thing is what really got me fired up and excited.
How do you go from being an emerald to then going across the world? Because I'm sure, like you said, there's no skate parks around.
Yeah.
So I know you're not skateboarding now at this stage, but people are all around Melbourne that are doing this. So you're having to drive from Emerald to probably the city or to other ends of other ends of Melbourne. What did your mum and dad do? Like, were they driving you everywhere? Were they going, what the hell is this freaking thing? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Or were you just doing it by bus? How are you getting around doing it?
I mean, all of the above. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm very fortunate. My parents were extremely helpful and very supportive of mountainboarding. They didn't know what mountainboarding was. I didn't know what mountainboarding was. No one else knew what it was, but they kind of just were stoked that I was so excited about it, and they wanted to like help me in whatever way they could. So my parents would, they would drive me all over Melbourne. They'd take me to little ride days and events and stuff like that. But also me and my little group of friends, we would get the train, and we'll sort of 15, 16-year-olds get the train around Melbourne was pretty exciting. We'd get the bus. We had actually one day, I was thinking about that in the drive here because it's been so hot. One day we were on the bus, to the skate park, to Gembrook Skate Park, and I had my mountainboard in the bus, and it was extremely hot like today. And the one of the tires on the board exploded.
Oh, on the bus.
On the bus, and everyone in the bus was like freaked out.
Someone's shooting a gun.
Yes, that's what it sounded like.
Wow.
And I was like, wouldn't it be funny if that happened on the podcast today?
Thank God we got air conditioning.
Hope you're enjoying this episode with dos&d. Tell me what time it is, please.
It's a one and only time to thank our friends and partners, Fleet Plan Hire Solutions. Dos, why are they the best?
Well, you know why they're the best.
I
They do every project, big and small. They look after it with their customer care. Fleet hire, plant hire, truck hire.
Everything you need when it comes to earth moving. These are the
They've
guys.
got it all. You go to them. So head to fbh.com.au to find out more.
Back to the episode with Mr. Dill Warren. When you talk about competitions, is this trick shots, or is this racing, or is it both?
In Australia, like back then, it was a bit of both. Like there was a lot of freestyle events.
Yeah.
Like mountainboarding back then was in its infancy. So a lot of the small grassroots events were just people like taking big ramps to a local park, and we'd like do competitions in conjunctions with events that are already happening. And then also there was a property out in Gippsland that a friend of mine had built a mountainboard park. So we'd go out to his property and have a lot of events out there. And that was like freestyle, like doing tricks and stuff like that, and also racing. And the racing's kind of similar. What's called border cross racing, which is what they do in snowboarding. I don't know if you've seen that before.
Yeah, that's kind of what I envisaged, yeah.
Yeah, so it's more or less like if you could imagine a motocross track on a hill, that's what border cross racing is.
Right.
You fly down, there's 4 people racing each other, and it's like whoever can make it to the bottom first sort of thing.
Wow.
Which is it's kind of gnarly, but I definitely prefer the freestyle sort of stuff. But yeah, so we're just doing those smaller kind of competitions and stuff. And in Australia, like with most things, we're quite behind the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I was earning any money or anything like that. But I eventually started getting a bit of a name for myself, and I got my first sponsor, Munro Boards. And I started getting flowed product and like getting more exposure. And then I kind of put more internet stuff out on the internet. And I got to a point where I was sort of year 11, year 12 at high school. And I don't want to say I hated high school, but I just felt like it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure a lot of young Australian guys and girls go through high school and it's just like, none of this makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be an accountant or a lawyer or like even a tradie. It's like, I want something different. And I didn't know what it was at the time, but I found myself just constantly thinking like, all I want to do is go overseas and mountain board and see what's out there. So I just made it through high school, and then I worked 3 jobs and I saved up all of my money. And I think at 18, I knew someone on Facebook in England, and I spent all of my money and bought myself a one-way ticket to England. And I told my mum that I had this big plan. All these people are going to look after me. And it was like this whole organized thing, but it was
Were you lying to her? Or?
Yeah, 100%. Through my teeth. I had no plan.
Yeah.
All I knew was this one dude off Facebook. And I was like, damn, I hope this guy picks me up from the airport, from Heathrow Airport. That's all I had planned. And so I did the massive... I think it was like 24-hour, 25, 26-hour flight to England. Like the worst flight you could get, the cheapest one.
Yeah.
I was in Abu Dhabi for a few hours, and I was just looking out into the desert, and it just blew my mind. Like, you got to like realize like I was just this 18-year-old kid who had never left the country ever.
From Emerald.
From Emerald.
Like, not even from like St.
Not
Kilda.
even the city.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
No, like... So I finally like arrive in Heathrow, and I'm like this huge international airport, and I'm like, fuck, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And luckily enough, this guy, Andy, came and picked me up and drove me back to this mountain board center. And I was like, whew, made that, now what? So he's like, oh, you can sleep on the floor of the mountain board park. So I slept in this shop for 3 weeks on the floor. And this mountain board park, they did a lot of school groups.
Yeah.
So like a lot of, like every day a school group would come through and they'd teach them how to mountain board out in the mountain board park. So I was sleeping on the floor and, you know, drinking a few beers at night. And then like my mate would like open the door and be like, all right, Dylan, wake up. The group's here. So I had to like pack up my like sleeping bag and stuff. And I slept on the shop floor for 3 weeks, rode every day, and then slowly started to meet people like other mountain boarders who came in to ride. And then I met this one guy who was like the big dog pro rider, and they were doing a big Euro trip. And they're like, do you want to come with me? And I was like, all right. And then so I jumped in this random dude's van and we traveled around Europe. And then that was like the beginning of my professional mountain board debut.
That's insane.
Like upon reflection, it's like pretty wild, like, especially for my mom. Like,
Isn't it amazing? Like, my first thought goes to we just overplan things.
totally.
Like everything in our life, and I'm guilty of it to the like I love to plan things to the T, but sometimes having no plan is sometimes the best plan.
Yeah.
You know, jumping in the van with no idea who it is, but it opens up the door that would never be open before.
Totally. So metaphoric. You know, that van door comes in, you're like, changes your life.
That's crazy.
Quick play on that. Let's give the viewers a bit of an idea if they're not familiar with Dill's work.
Oh, that's Mount Fuji.
Mount Fuji. Oh, Mount Fuji.
Yeah. So this is jumping forward a few years, but this is a mountain board park literally at the base of Mount Fuji.
So it's all man-made kind of
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty much like a snowboard park on dirt. And then what's really cool about this place in particular, all that dirt is volcanic soil.
Oh, right.
So you're literally like riding on a volcano.
That is.
Yeah. So this is all the Japanese guys.
In the community, how many people do you think are like? I know it's only a guess, but in the mountain boarding community, at least at a semi-serious level, how many would be in Australia versus the world?
Oh,
Like how many serious mountain boarders are right in Australia as we speak?
like I'd say 100 would be a stretch. Like
Right,
that's how
100.
small it is.
So it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, it's mountain boarding's most popular in America and Europe. Namely, like France and England is probably where it's the biggest at the
So
moment.
England was, when you said England before, that surprised me. That would have been the last country I would have.
Yeah, well, you know what
expected.
the interesting thing about England in particular is, like, I mean, it's probably almost 20 years ago now, but I think they had a drought or something like that, or they had I can't remember exactly what it was. I think there was an issue with farming. I can't remember if it was a drought or like animal sickness or something. But all these farmers had all these issues with their land where they couldn't use it to their full potential. So mountainboarding came to England from America, and the people who imported the mountain boards started going to all the local farmers and being like, look, we've got this new sport. You guys got all these perfect green rolling grass hills.
Yeah.
You guys should build, they used to call them back then, a mountain board center. You should build a mountain board center on your property. So, over 5-10 years, this kind of spread around England, and then all these mountain board centers started popping up around the countryside as like the perfect solution for the farmers to earn some extra income.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then also the mountain boarders could ride the hill and use the hill. So just in that action, that actually created a lot of mountain boarders in England, and that's how they've become such a big part of the mountain board story and where a lot of the big mountain board parks are at the moment. So it's kind of interesting, and like that's something we want to do more here in Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much land here that could be utilized for mountain boarding and give some, also some cash to farmers. I think, it's something we got to revisit.
You mentioned the obviously getting the first brand deal, and then getting sent probably some free stuff here and there.
Yeah.
I reckon a really really interesting story probably that you could share is for the listeners around when does it become your full-time thing? Like, because we're the same. Like we went through school and you go and I got a degree and I'm not even using the degree anymore. Like you want to do something more, but it's typically looked at like, well, how are you going to make it happen? How did you make it happen? How did you make it happen? When did it become that?
I mean, a lot longer in the piece. Like, it's kind of an interesting thing to think about because mountain boarding is so small. Like especially for my parents, to like, whoa, like you're going all in on this thing, but like there's not like a career path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's only been like, in the last 5-10 years, or probably not even 5 years, that I've really made it a full-time thing because, especially for the type of riding I do, it's more about making content. So like, like fast forwarding a long time, it's all about getting sponsors, getting brand deals, how much influence you can have on social media. That's where you can actually turn it. It's like anything now. Like if you have a hobby or an interest, social media is where you're going to be able to make it a sustainable thing. So it wasn't until social media became a bigger thing that I could actually make money from it. Like I'd go travel and I'd save up for a long time and just spend all my money on the road, and you win some events and you get a little bit of support and cash from the mountain board sponsors. But I couldn't really turn it into a real thing until I went harder in social media.
And how many hours a day? What does a training schedule look like for you? Is it just I go when I feel like it, or is it more tailored? Like how does it all work?
I think when I was younger, it was definitely a lot more tailored. Right now I'm doing a lot more, a lot of different things in my life. So like time's quite difficult, but I try and like mountain board like at least 3 times a week, whether it's just like now I like utilize indoor skate parks to go and practice. You can go there at night time. It's a good place to practice, but probably like 3 times a week. I mean, I just been on a big trip, so I was mountain boarding every day. It kind of just depends on what's going on in my life really. But yeah, I do a lot of things now, like we can jump into it a bit later, but like I'm making more of an effort to like see a personal trainer and put a lot more time and effort into my body and my mind and my nutrition and stuff like that. Like I'm 33 now, so I'm like trying to get a bit more of a longevity play.
Yeah, of course.
Back when I was like 18, 19, 20, I was just getting pissed every night and it didn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I was going to ask that. Is it a bit of that scene, like a bit of a party scene?
Yeah, for sure.
On tour with other skaters? Yeah,
definitely. And that's like, like in the action sports sort of scene, the partying lifestyle is quite prevalent, and it's I feel like only now in the last 5 years or so, I'm seeing it start to change a lot. People are trying to get more out of their bodies and do it for longer, especially in my sort of age bracket. They want to like do it for as long as they can. So then now they are making the effort to go to the gym and eat better and be a bit more behaved, I guess.
Do you have like, I know you've got, and we're going to talk about what else you're kind of doing in your life and career, I suppose too, but do you have a ceiling in your own head of a time frame of when you might want to move past, competing, for example, or is it just, I'm just going to go as long as I possibly can?
I've already moved past competing.
Yeah.
I kind of
Okay.
I never loved it.
Yeah.
I just did it because I had to do it.
Sure.
And I think mountainboarding to me is less of a sport, but more of like an expression of self.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit like wanky, but I do think of it more of like an art form, I guess. Like I'd rather make a cool video with a cool song
Yeah.
and inspire kids to get into it by just doing something creative and cool.
Yeah.
Is it on that? Isn't that how like that's my vision of skate? I didn't skate, but that's my vision of what skating was as a kid. I had friends, brothers who would go and make videos and put music behind it, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't competitions; it was actually for that.
Yeah, and that's what I really relate to.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who do really well in competitions. They train for it. They treat it like a job. Like they love that sort of stuff. But I like the creative side of things. But especially in the last 5 years or so, with the introduction of the Olympics, and you see a lot of these, just in skateboarding. But I've noticed a lot of these kids are very young, and their mentality is a lot different to what I was back then. So like a lot of these kids who are going into the Olympics or striving to be in the Olympics are now taking it a lot more serious. They go to the gym, they eat right, they go to bed on time, and they treat it more like a sport, which is cool. It's like it's a completely different train of thought.
They're not sleeping on the floor of,
Yeah. They're not doing that. And but the other thing too is like they have so much more opportunity now. Like I said before, when I was their age, I was getting the bus half an hour to the local skate park or an hour, and now they have like $1 million skate park in their back pocket, and that's why you see in the Olympics and stuff like the level of skateboarding's gone through the roof, because these kids have all the opportunity in the world to do it. Whereas back when I first, I still skateboard now outside of mountainboarding. But when I was skateboarding, we'd go skate to the local netball courts, and the older dudes would bring like rails and stuff down to the netball courts. But like, they don't want you there. They're throwing beer bottles at you. Like, it's a completely different world. So it's come a long way, and I think mountainboarding is going to go in that direction too.
It's cool because now, like, you're obviously the pioneer, and what you're doing is going to be really inspiring. Like, you're creating the blueprint for the next generation, which is something you didn't have, which is really awesome. In terms of these videos, when you think about all the videos you've made along your journey, is one stand out as just a crazy stunt or something? What's the craziest one that you've created?
I made like a couple of videos like 5, 6, 7 years ago. Well, one that I'm really proud of, it was a video called Hashtag, and it was like just as
Sammy,
like,
look it up.
I think you were on it
He's dropped
before
his phone.
actually. Yeah, you did. And that was at a time when hashtags
here
just
it
came
is.
out, like on social media, and we thought it was really lame. And we kind of did it like
Oh, you
taking
thought
the
the whole
piss.
hashtag movement was lame?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, wouldn't it be funny if we called it Hashtag? And so we made this mountainboard video, me and my best friends in Melbourne. And this is kind of what allowed me to get sponsored by like an American brand and stuff like this. And
Give it a
I mean,
click,
some of the
Sammy.
tricks I
Give it a
did, and I
click.
was like super proud of, and I worked really hard to do it. But this was like a bit of a different style. That's in Carrum.
Oh,
Jeez.
And particularly in this video, this is like a different type of riding. Like traditionally, mountainboarders would just ride dirt jumps and stuff like that. But I kind of took it to the streets,
how
like a
many
street
takes? How many
skateboarders.
takes of some of these?
Oh, I mean, every one of these tricks, they would have been like 30 to 100 tries.
Wow.
Just to
Wow.
get the one clip. And
That's amazing.
I don't know how long this video is, but if you do the math, it's like, and it's like, I think like what people don't realize is they see these cool tricks on the internet or whatever. But like I just said, each one of these tricks could take you 6 hours, or it could take you 3 days. Like the last trick in that video took me 3 days of
Get it up.
falling over, hitting the concrete for like 4 or 5 hours at a time.
Oh,
It's like,
And then are you getting injured doing these too?
oh yeah,
Because then that just gets pushed back further. And
yeah. And it really comes down to like, there's a lot of good things that have come into my life from mountain boarding, a lot of things I've learned about myself, but like mountain boarding at that level is like, this thing.
yeah, quick play.
But like,
Wow. Is this the one?
yeah.
Oh, you would have been stoked.
Yeah. But I was falling on the car park every time I fell off. But
With
the
a
old cold.
liquor land in the background.
yeah, shout out.
So that.
But it really like creates like a lot of grit. Like you have to have grit, you have to have determination, and like you fall over and you get hurt, but you want it so bad, and you've invested so much yourself into this one stupid trick that you have to see it out. So like I've like, and a lot of people, like not just me, like everyone in action sports goes through this, and like sometimes you have like a broken rib or something really ridiculous like that, but you have so much adrenaline and you're so driven and determined to get this trick that you just go and do it. And like, and I mean, I had another video that I jumped off this cliff and I was trying to do this trick, and the first time I got knocked unconscious, and I was on the floor for like a minute, and then so probably about 30 seconds, but I
Sounds like me. Exaggerating.
yeah, but like, yeah, I was like unconscious and I was really sick over the weekend from the concussion and stuff. And then like the following week, I like had to go back and land it. And my friend's like, you know, you probably shouldn't do that. But I was just like, I needed to do it. And I don't know if it's like an OCD thing or what it is or where that comes from. But I eventually like got the trick 3 tries later.
So do you have fear? Do you have a lot of fear when you?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, so yeah.
You do, yeah. But I think that's why everyone is so drawn to action sports, is because you're so scared to potentially hurt yourself, and then you slowly start figuring it out and you get more confident, and then just to like do this trick and land it and roll away, I haven't found in my life, there's no more rewarding feeling than that feeling of battling something for hours and then riding away successful. It beats every drug.
It's actually motivating me.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go learn how to kickflip now.
Do you watch those? Do you ever? Are you on TikTok and stuff?
Yeah.
Like I just get in these TikTok. I get addicted to these videos, and they're the people that are like doing trick shots.
Yeah.
Like trying to throw shit in different things, and they bounce off things. But a lot of them actually post how long it took them to get the trick shot, and it takes them like days and days on end, but you only see the finished product. Like it's obviously the same with you guys. It's
It's
crazy.
the exact same thing. Instead of missing the cup with the ball though, you're just throwing your body into the cup.
And you're breaking your leg.
Yeah.
You know?
So with that, like that hashtag video as an example, so when do you start to see kind of real virality or real attention now on you and all these opportunities that come from it? How does that all work? Or do you remember the first
that video
video?
did pretty well.
Yeah.
Especially for that time in my life. But yeah, that was like early YouTube for me, and then I just started posting more on Instagram. And then when I was going overseas, I was doing a lot of networking and meeting. Like my whole goal in my life is to get as many people on a mountain board as possible.
Yep.
So every time I'd go overseas, I'd make a point to go and meet all the big Instagrammers, meet all the big YouTubers, and network and show them what mountain boarding is. So like when I was in America, I did a lot of, I went out and went on a lot of the big skate YouTube channels and talked about mountain boarding. And I did a video on a YouTube channel called Braille Skateboarding. And they were the biggest YouTube channel for skateboarding at the time. And they did a video on me, and that like got a couple of million views.
Wow.
And then they posted me all over their Instagram, and then my Instagram started going crazy. And then all the other skate programs were like distributing my clips, and then that was my first taste of sort of virality. And I'm like, fuck, I'm actually doing something pretty cool. So I kind of invested everything into social media at that point, and I went all in. And at that time too, it was a bit taboo. Like,
Yeah.
it was a bit like, especially in like the skateboard scene, it was kind of like, why are you self-promoting? Like the especially in skateboarding, separate to mountain boarding, it was a bit like the model was back then is you get all these sponsors and the sponsors promote you and you get this cool guy image. But I was kind of doing the reverse. I was promoting myself.
Yeah.
And not having to worry about all the sponsors and all the commitments and stuff. And I was getting all the exposure. So I was building up my own social media. And I'm sure like people were like, oh, that guy's like full of himself. He's promoting himself. But it was the best thing I ever did. And I just kept investing in that and doing more of it and posting my own clips. And I built up a significant following. And that's that, like we were talking about before, how did it become a job? That's when it kind of, the switch sort of flipped, and I started like getting brand deals from people outside of mountain boarding, and then my sponsors started paying me more, and that's how I've been able to. And we're not talking like we're making like a shitload of money, but it's enough to like travel the entire world and do what you love, which was pretty sick.
That's the dream.
Yeah,
that's the dream, right?
Yeah,
It's just crazy.
Yeah. So I'm super grateful, and I love it.
Is there? You mentioned like the skateboarding community, or could be the mountain board community as well. What's it being an individual sport? Is there, when you do better, am I jealous of you, or is it very much I'm happy for you? Because we've had people on before, and we talk because you've obviously spent so much time with overseas athletes as well. Yeah. Have you noticed here in Australia why we have this like tall poppy syndrome? Why do we hate? Why do I hate you doing well? But in America, they all want to help each other. Or in Europe, or what? Like, have you noticed that?
It's so funny you bring that up. That's tall poppy syndrome. I've been thinking about that a lot recently in the last year or so, and I think it's like within the community, but also outside of the community too. Like as like my social media has grown. And like, I'm not like some mega influencer or anything like that, but I've got like a bit more traction. I've noticed in my own personal life, people like in your own intimate circle don't interact with you as much, or they get a little bit, I don't know if jealous is the right word, but it could be. But
well, Dosh just whispered, but for those that didn't hear, he just said it's so interesting because we're literally dealing with this
at the moment.
Yeah,
little bits. Yeah.
What's your view on tall poppy syndrome? Because this is a topic I'm passionate about. Like, how has it affected your life, and why do you think it's a uniquely Australian thing? Because like Australians have like this reputation of being like kind and easygoing and larrikins and having a laugh and mateship and all this sort of stuff, but then there's still this heavy tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the social media game too, obviously, and the only we say it so openly. The only way to win is collaboration. Not the only way, but the key to winning or to speed through it, collaboration's key for us. That's what's helped growing us, and a lot of other people in the space would say the same thing. I don't know why it's unique to Australian, and I always think about it at tennis time of the year, because tennis is the sport where when there's an underdog, everybody gets behind the underdog. Yeah. And once that underdog becomes, say, the champion or the top 10, everyone switches off very quickly. Yeah. For us, we talk about this all the time. We used to get frustrated. For us, we started with nothing, absolutely nothing. No followers, no money, we didn't come off TV or sport or professional sport. So you built
it yourself.
Yeah. Better from zero. So we started with friends and family, and that support, they support you, but it drops off, and then you kind of build your real organic audience. But somewhere along the line, there's people that were doing similar things to us, or maybe not similar things, but they're very encouraging of what you're doing. And then comes a point where not only do they stop communicating, but there's just it's almost like a ghost. There's just nothing. Yeah. And you don't know why. And some of them you're either pretty close with, or they were even been on the show at the very beginning or whatever, and then suddenly you just don't hear from them. You don't understand what the reason is. I don't know how to say this. I'm trying to censor myself.
Sammy just looked at me and went like this.
Yeah. I'm trying to kind of censor myself too, but
it's interesting. I look at it as this. There's a piece of the pie for everyone, but unfortunately here in Australia, we all want the whole pie, and we think that the pie is just my pie. But it's like the internet is huge. Social media is just insane. So there's enough awareness to go around for everyone, and the awareness goes to they can enjoy your stuff, but they can enjoy ours too. Like
Yeah.
it's not like mine's the only one to enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's the same in your game. Like we're all competing in the same sport. The people who love the sport love us all the same.
Yeah.
But I think some people have a real issue, especially like if we were Mountainboarders, for example, like seeing somebody succeed at a rapid rate is not only is it hard to actually watch and see, and it's appearing, and because it's just constantly people struggle with comparison, so it's
That's what
constantly showing up. You're going, well, it's almost a reflection on yourself. Why aren't I
Exactly.
there? So it's almost I'd rather just turn it off, mute, disassociate, because I don't have to see it. I don't know.
You've hit the nail on the head. I mean, I've seen this in my life, in my outward friendship circle, is like you said, people are there for when you're an underdog and they want to see you exceed. Like, oh yeah, these clips are going well. You're doing so well in mountainboarding. But then when you hit a point of success, they disappear or they resent you for it because it's almost like you've put a mirror in front of them. Like I sacrificed everything and I went and did the thing, but you're still stuck here wanting to do the thing, and you're almost jealous or resented, or you resent me, or you feel some sort of way because I've actually went and done the thing where you haven't.
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to a bit of that. Do you agree?
Well, I was going to
100%.
ask you on that too, because this is the other thing is then people say you've changed or you've sold out or you're not promoting what you're promoting for in our case 4 years ago, which is totally different. Did you get that too? Like in terms of people going like they don't even know you anymore, but they're saying something like you're doing something different to what you were doing.
Yeah. I think I definitely get it behind my back for sure.
Yeah.
But never really to my face. And you just get a sense of it too. Like you can see when people like pull away from you a bit, or they don't even interact with you on social media or whatever. Like, yeah, it's a strange thing. And like, if people are telling you that you've changed, I'm like, fuck yeah, good. I'm glad I've changed. I'm trying to fucking grow. I'm trying to be a better mountain boarder. I'm trying to be a better businessman. I'm trying to like develop myself. I want to be the best I can be. So of course I'm not going to be, getting smashed every night, drinking a slab of beers and then trying to mountain board every day. Like I've grown from that. I'm trying to do this shit forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, with that, I'm sure you cop hate. Is there hate in your world?
Yeah, for sure.
Online?
Yeah. And it's like mountainboarding is quite different and smaller than all the other action sports. So it could be like an easy thing for people like, oh, that shit's lame compared to skateboarding. Just like how I was when I first started skateboarding. But as you, on your journey, you kind of like build a tolerance to it, or you become immune to it because you've got a bigger purpose. And that's how I try to think about it. I mean, of course, like negative comments get you down and they wear you out, but you just got to remind yourself that you're striving for something that you want and you're trying to become.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like
100%. Yeah.
I think everyone, like if you're putting yourself out there on social media, no matter what you do, you're going to get shit. And I always I have a business where I help people with their social media as well, but I always try and tell my clients, like, if you're putting yourself on social media and you start to get hate, then you're doing something right.
Yes.
you're rustling feathers. And I'm like, now, like I do things intentionally on my Instagram to piss people off, because it's like, there's this term I don't know if you're aware of called rage bait.
Yeah.
Where people are just going to say some bullshit and then it's going to help the algorithm, and then your message is going to get amplified, so you can use it to your own advantage.
Spot on.
We'll get into the first segment in this. We'll do two edge first, Sammy. So maybe you can start setting that up. But it's funny. You asked us before we started recording. You said, was there a moment where we kind of, was it a guest or an interview or a video that kind of got us a bit more recognition and getting started? But what you just said, I feel hit the nail on the head. I think when it changed for us was when hate became a lot more regular.
Yeah.
When it started being like almost every video there was hate, that's almost in my mind where things changed and we started our trajectory of building a bigger following and a bigger show and a larger audience was at that moment.
Yeah.
When we were trying to just stay so vanilla,
Yeah.
non-biased, nothing controversial.
We sat on the fence a lot.
Sat on the fence.
Yeah.
That's it.
And we didn't choose, like, not that it's not about one's good and one's bad. It's just, it's okay to have an opinion,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
when we're interviewing someone, it's okay. You don't have to agree with everything. but
Yeah.
If you do, that's fine.
You know what the perfect example of that is the new president of America.
Exactly right.
That is like
we want-
encapsulates everything.
Well,
And,
yeah, we could get into some serious Trump talk. Yeah, we always love that. So what we're doing now, Dill,
Yeah.
and we'll come back to those conversations in a second. Bringing in the Two Edge, the show and tell segment. Now, you said to us you're not a golfer, but you have brought up golf on the show today, saying that was really the early roots. Our good friends at Two Edge are going to sort you out at the end of the show with a few goodies, but before we bring in show and tell, maybe just mention the 725
Yeah,
series.
the 725 series. It's bloody gorgeous, that's for sure. Look at them. Look at them,
Stunning, I would say,
know,
actually.
They're lovely. Yeah, well, I mean, we're not the best of golfers, but mate, when we get to take these out, the extra distance, they go that. And the precision as well.
Well, it's all built in-house, so they've got a warehouse at the back where they actually build all this. So, so for those that are into their golf, we're talking accessories or brand new clubs.
Bit of clothing as well.
Clothing, that's right. Two Edge will sort you out, and of course, you're wearing the Two Edge hat, which you look absolutely stunning.
Actually really
and,
suits you.
and the good news is you get to keep that too. So
Wow.
that isn't
Thanks,
just a prop. Now we've asked you as part of this segment to bring in a show and tell item. The regular viewers and listeners of the show will know exactly what this segment is. So, what have you brought in to show us today, Dill?
Okay. As I dig deep into my pocket right now. Okay, you ready for this?
All right, here we go. Dos, you ready?
Yeah,
I've got
ready.
no idea
I'm
what
always
this-
ready.
Dos, can you please do the drum roll like we
All right,
always
let's, like we rehearsed.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Dum.
Down.
Cool.
Yeah, that was the Law and Order theme song. And this right here is a small scale representation of my camper van named Lemmy.
Let me.
Love it.
So
'Cause we have read a bit about this on social media, so this is very interesting.
You know,
Yeah.
We'll go down this route now. I like it.
okay, so this is Lemmy. Are you guys into rock and roll at all?
Love rock and roll.
Of course.
Okay, so one of my favorite bands is Motorhead.
There we go.
And the lead singer of Motorhead, his name is Lemmy. And he was a real hellraiser. He really lived life exactly how he wanted to do it. He traveled the world, played gigs every night, drunk 2 bottles of whiskey every night, smoked thousands of ciggies, and lived life to the absolute fullest. You know, he was very aware that he was killing himself, but he loved rock and roll more than that. And he played a million shows and he did exactly what he wanted to do. And that's how I want to live my life. I don't want to drink 2 bottles of bloody whiskey a night, but I want to live it the way I want to do it. So I named my van Lemmy. So a couple of years ago, yeah,
There we
right
go.
there.
Beautiful.
A couple of years ago, in potentially, how old are you guys?
30.
29.
Yeah, he's 30 next month.
29. Okay.
29 at the moment.
How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels great. I'm in my 20s.
This is something, aside from the tall poppy thing, this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately. How do you feel right now about being 29 becoming 30? What's your view on it?
Well, clearly, Dill, I'm in complete and utter, what's the word, denial.
Well-
Because I keep saying 20. I'm 30 in a few days, and I
Oh,
keep saying
shit.
29. I'm
I just
29,
turned 30 last week.
Yeah.
Okay, this
And
is perfect for my.
It's been
thought-
a big build up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've hated the build up, and I think I've hated it so much that I got to the number and it was actually okay.
Okay.
But I've struggled with the idea of letting go of the last decade.
Yeah, I'm in denial.
Yeah. And how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I refuse to say I'm 30 until the clock ticks over, and then I'll deal with it then. But at the moment, I'm in denial. I'm in my 20s, and I'm loving it.
And what do you think is like what makes you sick about being 30? What are you fearing?
My thing is, this is going to match well, actually. My fear is like, as soon as I turn 30, life has to be serious.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I have to start thinking about kids. I have to start thinking about marriage. I have to start thinking about buying a house. I have to start thinking about just life is serious now because I'm no longer a 20-something.
Yeah.
What about you?
It's honestly, it just feels like it's the biggest turn of going from I can play the young card, I'm young, like versus like very much similar to DOS. Now it's like it's serious. You're getting older. Like
I said it to my girlfriend the other day. I was like, I just want to be a kid forever. I just want to be.
Yeah.
yeah.
And do you feel like it's a bigger transition than from when you turned 18 or 21? Does it feel like, I guess, when you turn 18 and 21, it's like an exciting thing.
Can't
like, I can drink, I can do meth, I can do whatever I want.
I can drink and drive.
Yeah. But like 30, when you zoom out, and it's like in society, it's been built up to be this big transitional piece of where you become an adult and you really have to like knuckle down and have it all figured out, I think.
That's the one. That you've hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, and I
How did you go turning 30?
well, I fucking struggled, man. It was the tail end of lockdown. So, I mean, for anyone outside of Melbourne or the world doesn't know, in Melbourne, we endured the world's longest lockdown. I don't know if I'm allowed to say lockdown on this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because at a point it got censored, right?
You said the current, president of America. You can say Trump. There's nothing off limits. We don't care where you.
So like we all went through this 300-day lockdown. It was the worst time of my life and many Australians, well, people around the world, right? But for me, my whole life, like I've just spoke about, I've lived on the road forever. I've traveled. I have to be outdoors. Like I'm a very outdoorsy type person. And for me, in my experience, although I was in a very privileged spot of my life, I was living in a house, and I had no struggle. But internally for me, I was trapped.
Yeah.
I lived in suburbia. I lived in a townhouse. It was just me and my ex-partner, and I felt so trapped. Like I couldn't go out. I couldn't do the things I wanted to do, and I fell really into a dark place. And so many other people did, and a lot of people had it way worse than I did, but this is just my experience. And so I was stuck in the house for so long, and I just wanted to get out, and I felt every part of me disappear. Like I didn't have any sense of self. Everything like I knew about myself, I couldn't do. I couldn't go explore. I couldn't mountain board. I couldn't skate. And I just felt myself like I don't watch TV, and I was just watching so much TV, eating shit food, in a bad relationship. It was like a really bad time of my life. And as the lockdown was sort of wrapping up, I was 29, and I was going into this. And I was turning 30, and it's turning 30 for me since I was 20 was like, fuck, I don't want to turn 30. Like I got to have my life sorted out. I got to have a steady job. I'm probably going to be married with 18 kids. And like it seemed very serious, and it definitely to me seemed like this big transitional place. And that honestly, like the weight of that plus the lockdowns weighed super heavy on my shoulders. And so I ended up turning 30, and I was like the most depressed I've ever been. And I didn't have like a party or anything like that. I didn't want to acknowledge being 30. I hated it. So what I did is I got out of lockdown, and I took myself on a trip up to Queensland to see my family. Went skating and mountainboarding, and I rented one of those little wicked vans. It was like a Scooby-Doo one. Have you seen those before?
I've seen the Mystery Inc. vans.
Mystery van. And I did a 3-day trip just driving this mystery machine around like the Sunshine Coast. And I had so much fun. I was fully self-sufficient. I had my board. I was driving around, going to skate parks, cooking in the van. Didn't need anyone, doing my own thing, stoked. And then this idea evolved in my head. I was like, damn, I could be doing this all the time. So I said to my aunt, I was staying at my auntie's place. They live in Noosa. And I said to my auntie, when I get back from this trip, I'm going to buy a van. She's like, no, you won't. You sure you want to do that? Like, why would you do that? And so sure enough, I got back, and I started looking at vans and started like researching it all, and I got super excited. And then we're still kind of like in this awkward position of like, you can only do a few things. Like I think that maybe another lockdown came in. It was like this awkward period. Actually, no, it wasn't the end of the lockdown because I flew back from Queensland and I wasn't sure if I was going to get put into hotel quarantine or not because the rules changed on my flight from Queensland back into Melbourne. So we're all freaking out when we landed in Melbourne. We would have had to go into hotel quarantine. But luckily, long story short, we didn't have to. So anyway, get back and I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to buy a van. So I went out and found an old ambulance. And I drove to the other side of the city out here somewhere and went and found this ambulance, took it for a test drive, didn't look at it too much, too excited. And I ended up buying...
You didn't buy a lemon, did you?
I bought a lemon.
Oh no.
Yeah. And that's not a little... that's not where Lemmy came from. It's it's just a genuine lemon. So I bought this van, right? Ex-ambulance, bring it back. And I'm like, I'm going to turn this ambulance into a camper van. And at that point, I was like, I'll just do something super basic so I can just get out and go explore again. So I start working on the van. I have all these engine issues. I'm like, fucking spending all my money just fixing the thing. And then I finally get into the exciting bit where I'm like building this van. And one of my really good friends, Craig, he has a business called Aurora RV. And he's probably like the biggest, well, he's probably the best van builder in, I'd say, Australia. He's been doing it for 25 years. So he's very skilled. So he was very kind and allowing me to go build it at his factory and he'd give me tips. So I wanted to build a super basic setup and then I ended up adding it a bit more, making it a bit nicer. And I was like, oh, it's good for resale value.
Yeah.
And I finally built this van. 6 months later, I have Lemmy and it kind of looks like this. It's not far off this, to be honest.
No, it looks very similar.
And so I finally finished building the van and I'm like, all right, this is my big moment. And then so I ended up driving off into the sunset and I drive all the way up the coast of like the east coast up to Queensland and then I drive across to Uluru, experienced a lot of that and then I came back and then I flew out to Europe. And ever since then I've pretty much converted full-time van life living and it's the best thing I've ever done and it's really like been a pivotal moment in my life from turning 30. I was like, this shit sucks. I don't want to I was super depressed, but it's like opened my whole life up to the world. And now I can go and do fun shit all the time. And I'm starting to realize I'm 33 now. I'm starting to realize, well, maybe you don't need to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
Maybe this is an ongoing thing. Can
I ask, did you travel with your ex-partner at the time in the van as well?
No, we broke up.
Okay.
So that was a big thing too.
Yeah.
She was very much in the mindset of you need to be comfortable. You need to have this sort of, and that was very it was great for her. That was her path. But for my path, it was no, you need to do what actually makes you feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been doing the van life thing now.
I love it.
Since then. And it's completely changed my life, give me a new outlook on life. And, it's I guess it's a good reminder is it's you can live your life any way you want to live it. I've always done things that are so super different. I'm riding Mountainboarders that is super niche and no one really knows about here in Australia. But it's just kind of become this full circle moment where I'm like, well, it's okay to choose your own path.
100%.
30 is just a number. It doesn't define you and you just got to live the way you want to live. You can't let society tell you how to live. You get one shot at this thing. Why don't you do something that stokes you or makes you excited? For a lot of people, working a 9-to-5 job is great. They're comfortable. You can do whatever, but it's not right for everyone. And I think looking back when I was in high school and I just wanted to get out of there, I think if I knew that back then, it would be a bit more comfortable.
I relate so much to literally all of that.
Yeah.
The whole part, because I felt very, different during lockdown, but I felt the same thing to the point where it just felt like we're never getting out. So that trapped feeling, that's how I felt. That's how I felt in school. I dropped out of school. I just couldn't, it wasn't, I just wanted to get out. 9-to-5's never been an interest of mine at all. So everything you're saying, mate, it's powerful.
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that too and bringing in Lemmy. That's
Yeah.
well, replica Lemmy, we should
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Sammy, you might, if you can just,
It's funny how like different things work for different people. Like,
Yeah.
because I relate to that so much. And I know D does too. We went through a patch in, might have been 2019. Was it 2019 or 2020 when we started it?
2020.
2020. And yeah, I was in a very similar situation to you actually. Very
Yeah.
similar. I was working a job I didn't like, and that's when we started the pod, because we were like, we want to fucking do something different, just have an outlet and talk about what we want to talk about. And we started this, and it was just in the spare room of, you know, my little townhouse that I was in with my ex-partner, and I wasn't very happy in that relationship, and I felt stuck.
So stuck.
And I was 25, so I wasn't nearly 30 yet, but I was 25, and I almost felt glued, and that was it. We were living in Safety Beach, and Dee would drive down, we would record the pod, and
Quite often illegally we'll drive.
like through lockdown actually,
Yeah.
Dee would illegally drive down, and we'd record it and whatever, but
But you know what? You know how Dill said earlier about, you know, you asked about why do people kind of tall poppy syndrome and go away, because it just occurred to me then. But we've talked about this before. I think because a lot of people feel the exact way we've all described, but not only are still stuck there, but have never tried to break away. You know,
Dude.
and I think that's a big key point of that jealousy as well. Not even trying. I mean, for me, I'd go, okay, if something, my attitude with everything we've done is if it fails, it fails.
Yeah.
And at the time you can say, oh, we're in our 20s, who cares? But if it fails, it fails, at least we tried. Whereas a lot of people, they sit there and they believe they're the world's best comic or the world's best singer but they,
Yeah, they don't do it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk all day about this stuff, but I'm mindful of time.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We need to shift gears with this next segment. So I'm going to throw this to you, Dill. Now, Dos, we're going to put Dill through a bit of a pressure test, hence the stress ball. But firstly, we're going to say a big thank you. And this will be the first episode where we introduce Healthy Male to the audience, Dos.
I know.
So,
I'm just getting the Healthy Male notes up actually.
yeah, fantastic. So we do want to say a big thank you to Healthy Male. Dill, they've jumped on board for us for the next, just a really quick stint, because in February they're running a very special campaign. So Healthy Male are all things men's health. They don't sell anything. It's just simply a source, a place to go.
Well, they've been providing free male health information for over nearly 25 years actually.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is much needed, especially for young males in today.
And what we're actually going to be talking about very shortly after this segment is check your balls, Dos.
Yeah. Oh, well, do you check your testicles?
Not as much as I need to, based on what I've learned. What about you? You
I do.
Yeah.
I actually do.
Yeah.
I hope you boys back there have been checking yours. Do you check yours?
I think I need to check them more.
Well, we're gonna.
So it's important.
We're going to show you the exact steps shortly. We won't be too descriptive to the audience, but we will give you.
Yeah, we want you to pull your dacks down.
But what we're going to do now, the reason you've got a stress ball in front of you is again, hopefully everyone can get the analogy. It's a ball, and balls. That's what we're talking about.
Should have got two.
We should have got two, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get that for next time. But basically, Dill, Sammy, our wonderful producer, he's come up with a few quirky scenarios that we're going to put you through. And the reason you got the stress ball is because you may need a little bit of help getting through this. Dos, do you have the first one for Dill? And by the way, we don't want you to think too hard. Just whatever comes.
Is this like quick fire response?
Yeah,
or
and you don't have to like come up with a quick answer. You can ponder on it. You can ooh, ah. You can kind of you can feel your way through this. All right.
Yeah.
Cool, I like that.
All right. So this is a ripper.
Okay.
You accidentally like your ex's vacation pic from 2016. How do you deal with this situation? What do you do?
Ooh.
Brother,
Fuck, I've been saying that so much.
Brother,
lately. Oh, it's so bad.
Brother,
Okay, so I'm on Instagram and I like my ex's bikini pic.
it's worse.
This is so hard. This is the worst.
Oh,
You've gone to the feed. You've scrolled through.
She knows you've been searching through it. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd go with like a mountainboard approach. Like, oh yeah, I was riding down the hill. My phone was in my pocket. I was riding through some extremely rough terrain, and unfortunately I was on a call prior So my phone was unlocked and I was on Instagram and I was sweaty and I perspired onto the phone and I had like, it was like, you know, like when your phone gets wet with sweat and like it starts doing random shit.
Yeah.
And then I was holding the phone because I was listening to music. I was listening to Motorhead and the sweat accidentally liked your photo. This is not how I feel at all. In fact, I would rather do anything but like your photo, but you know, I'm a really honest and open guy, and the truth be told, that my sweat actually liked you.
I love it.
Well played.
I mean, that doesn't help us because we can't have that same unfortunate excuse.
But you guys like sport, right? You can be like,
yeah,
oh,
you
it's
can be at the
just
gym. Or,
yeah.
It
exactly.
makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
Here's probably a bit more of a basic one.
Okay.
So you wave at someone, but you realise they're not actually waving back at you.
Oh, dude, I actually do this all the time.
We've all been there. So how do you play it off?
It's so awkward.
Yeah.
I just go, oh fuck, and walk away.
So it's not a little scratch of the nose or.
Nah, it's just like turn around and just like.
Have you ever done the hug? Because I did that once. Like someone was walking. It was at school. Someone went like that, and I went, and then they went straight past me and hugged the person behind me.
Dude, I did that in primary school.
There you
Emma
go.
primary school. I was I think I can't remember if I was wearing a hat or I had my hair like done super weird. And like my friends were like pulling my hat over it was my hat, pulling my hat over my face like this, right? And they were doing it all day. And then the teacher coincidentally did it to me, not knowing what would happen. And I turned around to the teacher, point blank in her face, said, "Get fucked!" And she like looked at me and was like, "What?" And she's like, "Go to the principal's office." First time I put to the principal's office.
Oh, that is hilarious.
I'm like, "Look, you're not going to believe this, but I sweated on my phone and it made me say fuck."
Oh, I love it.
Oh, that's a good one. You're at a restaurant and your card gets declined in front of a line of people behind you. What's your next move?
This happened
It's
to
an
me as
awkward situation.
well.
Oh, it's happened to me plenty of times.
The card declines you,
Look
and
at
it's
that,
kind of
that
like,
ball's starting to get
oh,
seriously
I'm like
pinched.
doing
Yeah.
something like a
It's
twist.
getting-
I'm going for a bit of a twist.
That's
at
going to
the
be torn
moment.
in half.
Yeah, and I'm pretty ripped, so I might just fucking tear him a
getting to
new
work out.
one. But I'm just like talking about the ball to really give me some time to think about how I'm going to respond to this
smart.
awkward tragedy.
Have you got?
I don't know.
Actually, you know what we did? We did a prank recently, and he had to text his stepdad that his card got declined at a sushi restaurant. Can you give me $10? Oh, it was one of the funniest moments.
I'm lucky, and you've seen this. So what I do if my card declines, because we've got the business card, I'll just tap the
smart.
business card, and then I'll
Yeah.
refund the business account with my bet.
Smooth.
That gets me out of the situation, but. And then
I mean,
it gives you the whole thing. Oh, sorry, wrong card, and then you pull
Yeah.
the other
Yeah,
one.
the
Yeah. So I
classic.
have used. You've seen
That
me.
that's the move you do. You
Yeah,
go,
I do
"Oh,
that.
wrong card."
I sorry, man. I have a business too, so I'm always like, I just got to transfer account,
Sometimes,
transfer
sometimes
money
I
or
even
whatever.
get both cards out.
Yeah.
Like at the same time. So I do one and it's like, oh no, this one. You
Yeah,
know?
that's good.
So he
That's
knows.
good. Yeah,
Like-
yeah.
Well-
They must get it all the time, though.
Yeah.
Oh, they would have to. Oh, I just realised I lost one. But mate, well, there you go. Do you want to do one more?
Is that?
Give me
Why
one
don't we go
more. Come on, I like
we'll
this.
go
This
one
is
more.
good.
All right. You
Do you want me to go for it?
Yeah,
All right,
I'll get
you trip and spill your drink. Oh, well, this might not relate to you because it's regarding if you worked at a company, your boss.
High-powered meeting.
High-powered meeting with a big brand.
Yep.
You go in, you're sitting in the boardroom, there's coffees. You trip and you spill the coffee on the head of marketing at, one of the companies. How do you handle it? No sweat this time.
A trip. And
Like, do you own up and you just do you just apologize? Like, just actually,
I've got
else
it.
do you do?
Right, you
Okay.
trip, and then I'm like, I trip over, commando roll, get up, boom, cat-like reflexes. You think that's hot? Well, check out how hot these tricks are.
well
You've
done.
nailed it.
That is well
That
done.
is fantastic. Well done, Dylan.
I don't think I've ever said hot tricks in my life.
Well, another new word to the vocab.
Well, we do need to thank you for playing along, Dill. We do appreciate that.
Hey
And,
guys,
that
you
was
know
all.
what? Thank you so much for the support and being there for me in that segment. And I'm glad we
Well,
did
don't
that.
thank us, mate. Thank Healthy Mel, and we need to say to the audience, and this goes, of course, to the women listening as well, because, of course, girls, you have brothers, partners, dads, sons, you have them all. So this is an important message because this month is, of course, Check Your Balls Month, Dos.
It is. Do you want to know how we should all be checking our
There's
our
just
balls?
four easy steps.
4 easy steps.
Go on, give it to me.
1, know what's normal.
No, it's normal.
Number 2, it's quick and it's easy. Doesn't take much time. What's number 3?
Number 3, you need to know the facts, which is 1,000 men annually in Australia are diagnosed with testicular cancer.
And then I'll speak from my own experiences. Know that not all lumps are cancerous. So it's
Don't panic.
You might feel it. You might, like me, freak out. Google it. Don't Google it because that's the worst thing you can do. Go to the doctor. He'll tell you yes or no if it's bad or good. So
in other words, it takes basically a minute, less than a minute when you're in the shower. Just get to know what your normal is, and then if anything changes, pretty simple, go see a doc.
Exactly right.
But Healthy Male DOS, they've got plenty of great avenues to go and get information, like their website and socials.
100%. And part of this campaign too, they've got an email subscription. So head to, I'm sure that'll be on their link over on their Instagram. So their Instagram is healthymale_au. Sign up to their email there and you'll probably get a lot more information on the campaign.
And of course, the website healthymale.org.au and this campaign /check your balls.
Beautiful.
That was well done, wasn't it? Well done.
Check your nuts.
Check your nuts. Now, before we let Dill go, have you got any burning questions before we bring over the goodie bag? Because I think we've gone over time, haven't we, Bryce?
I'll be interested in what's the most intense, crazy injury you've had?
Yeah, I wanted to know this too.
You know what? It wasn't even mountainboarding.
Was it?
I was in year 9 in high school, and my mum was taking me to try on my school uniform. And she went to fill up petrol at the petrol station. And I was like, Mum, going for a skate. Skate park is opposite petrol station. I'll be like, I'll be 5 minutes. 5 minute skate, Mum. Go to the skate park, drop in, go to ollie up and do a manual on a manual pad. And my trucks get stuck on the ramp. I get flinged forward, land on my elbow, completely break my elbow, fall on the ground, get back up. Mum's like, we're going now. And then, so like, come back over, get in the car. Mum drives me to school. And I'm like, Mum, my arm's kind of sore. She's like, it's just another bruise. Like, she's so over it and so used to it at this point. And then we get to school. I'm in the school uniform, change room, trying to pull on pants, falling over. And I'm like, Mum, this is kind of cooked. And then we go back home and my mate called me up and he's like, hey, do you want to come over for a sleepover? I'm like, hell yeah, brother. Go to my friends. Like,
can't say no to that.
Yeah, go have a sleepover. Next day, my elbow is like the size of a football. Go to the doctor. Doctor's like, hey, bro, we need an x-ray. I'm like, no walkers. Then he's like, I think your elbow is fine. I think it's just a bit of bruising. I'm like, I don't know, dog. It's pretty fucked. And he's like, yeah, no, you'll be right, mate. She'll be right. I was like, okay, are you sure, bro? And he's like, yeah. So I go home, go back to school. Month later, still fucked, surprisingly. Get another x-ray, broken.
Oh, no.
This point, I'm at school, in the gym, doing weights, being a kid, whatever. And in that point, my arm is still huge.
Oh.
And turned out I had broken my radial head, which is this bone here. And they put me in a cast, take cast off, still fucked. And I ended up having 2 surgeries on it, had all the... If there's a doctor on this listening to this right now, please email me.
There's still
yeah, because I ended up having 2 operations, had all the cartilage removed out of my elbow, and they were going to try and regrow it with stem cells, and that failed. So now I have no cartilage in my elbow, and now I have this huge calcium lump on my elbow that acts as an elbow pad now, which is quite handy. But the downfall of this is I can't turn my wrist.
Oh.
So
shit. Wow.
Yeah, I'm waiting to for my boy Elon to get the Neuralink and just repair it for me. That would be dope.
That'd be lovely.
I tell you what, if you know what we need to do, we need to go with Dill and do a dos&d on that thing.
Dude, you should.
If you'll take us out for an exclusive YouTube one day.
Can we wear a helmet?
But I've also got another caveat. You have to use skateboarding terms, so you got to all the words.
Lingo. Give me your best lingo.
Yeah,
go.
Let's kick it.
That's a good skateboard lingo.
I don't know.
I don't think I've ever said that my whole life, but that's good.
I've got one more quick fire before the questions.
I just want to digress real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
For the people who have watched this video and they've seen the mountain board footage, and I don't want you to think it's like this gnarly, crazy, extreme sport. Like a lot of people who get into mountain boarding are surfers, skateboarders, snowboarders, but I've also teach thousands of people how to mountain board at this point. And it's the type of sport where you can take it as crazy as you want it to be. Like a lot of the most fun times I've had is just taking a mountain board to my local hill and just carving it like a powder field. Just doing some carves and just enjoying turning. And like, it's not this crazy extreme thing. It's just as extreme as you make it. You guys could go out and take a board and ride a hill, have a beer at the bottom. It's so much fun. And it's like, it's a great way. Like my favorite thing as an adult about mountain boarding is like, I just got back from this huge trip up the coast in the camper van. And the best thing is like, there was so many days where I'd go and ride a bunch of bike parks and you'd hike out into the bush with your board. And like, I saw so many huge lizards, snakes, like so many different types of trees, plants, bushes, waterfalls, lakes. It's a really good way to like make hiking really fun.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be extremely talented, but you can just go for a hike and then ride back to the car park. Like, doesn't that sound so much better?
100%. Well, well, trust me, if you take us out, that'll be the proof of things going on the more mellow side. But we'll do that because we talked to Sammy today. We're going to do more exclusive YouTube stuff. So let's we'll tee that up. Before Sammy brings the gifts, one word answer. What are you afraid of? Anything?
I'm a little bit claustrophobic.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. You're an outdoorsy kind of guy and like the open.
Love the open road.
Yeah. Now, we said we're going to bring some gifts, so we won't let you wait any longer, deal. So, Sammy, bring over. We'll start with the Milkman, Dos.
Oh, Milkman Grooming Co. Gee whiz.
I'd like you to open this up, Dill, because actually each box is...
Maybe show the front of the box.
This is actually a beautiful box.
It is.
So Milkman is one of the leading men's grooming products companies in Australia. MilkmanAustralia.com is the website. And for all dos&d listeners, you get 20% off your first order by using the code dos&d. Yeah, 20% off your first order. Now, if you open that up, let's see what he sent you, because...
I'm pretty sure he's got a lovely little shaving gel in there.
He changes it.
I had a look before. He's got a shaving gel.
Oh my God. I wish
and a
I
natural
had this
deodorant.
About a week ago. I just did this big trip in my van and I got, I have an electric shaver and I went into the public pool to have a shower and have a shave. A bit naughty, I know. And like literally halfway in the male's toilet, like shaving, literally like shaved this much of my face. The thing dies and I'm like looking through my toiletry bag. I'm like, where's the charger? It's in Melbourne. So the pool's closed. The pool is literally closing, and the guy's done me a solid to let me in. I'm walking out, and I full did the walk of shame. It's like I just slept with some girl who was just.
Did you do any of this? Like just covering.
Dude, no. I like made eye contact with him, and I'm like, I'm texting on my phone, just head down walking, so he can't see the side of my face. So I wish I had Milkman back then because I could have just done a quick shave.
Yeah. Well, leave these in the van. And then what's the other product you got there as well?
Well, that's the shaving gel, the clear one, and then you've got the natural deodorant as well. There you go. Keeping clean and fresh.
Nice and fresh, Dill. Which
sick because aerosol deodorant is actually full of aluminum.
Agreed.
Yes.
And it gets in your skin. So I've actually been looking for a solution. So
anti-tox. I like this man a lot.
Yeah. I think we've got a lot to... Honestly, this is going to be a 7-hour podcast. If we actually let it roll. And then we've got the dos&d goodie bag. So inside there's a few gifts courtesy. So in there, healthy... Let's start with Healthy Mel. They've given you a nice little cookie as a campaign and a nice reminder to check your balls. Inside there's Musashi bars, the Bayford Ford drink bottle.
The Tour Edge golf club.
So you got the Tour Edge. You got a little bit of golf accessories. That's a drink bottle in there.
Sick.
You don't have to pull everything out, but because it's
guys, that's so generous.
We call it like Mary Poppins. It just keeps going.
Yeah, the bag that never stops giving.
But there's a couple of snacks in there, a couple healthy, couple unhealthy.
What is this?
Well, maybe it's all fallen out, but there should be golf balls and tees in there. So
I think it's empty.
Wow.
Must have fallen out inside. It must have fallen out inside your
there you go.
There you go. There's a few in there.
That's sick. Plant hire.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we would have. The audience would have heard a nice ad from them. But mate, before we let you go, obviously there's many elements to what you're doing. Obviously you got the podcast too. You got your business. Now's the time. Shout yourself out.
Where do we start?
I know. I just do too much, but yeah. I mean, I have a podcast as well, kind of similar to this. Like it's me and my best friend just talking about the Australian experience, pretty much. Just talking about what we're passionate about, like you guys, and sharing our stories and hopefully a bit of knowledge. And if you want to like check it out, it's Bill and Dill. We're on Spotify, YouTube, all the same, Instagram, same places as you guys. If you want to learn a mountain boarder, want to learn more about mountain boarding, I'm at Radical Face on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for having me.
Mate,
awesome.
it's been awesome to connect, and you know, you're such a humble guy. So it's been nice to just chat, and you know, clearly you've done a lot, but you know, you're incredibly humble. So just want to acknowledge you. But mate, thank you so much for taking the time on this stinking hot day to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go and have another swim. You're third for the day.
That's
Next
what we're
time
doing.
we see you, we'll be on those boards. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh, God.
You know what I've just realized? Between the three of us, it's 3 days.
Oh, the triple D.
Well, what?
Triple
Thanks for having me,
D.
guys.
See,
Hell
that's
yeah.
a skateboarding too.
Why not put fingers up? That looks horrible.
You love that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dill.
Dill.
Hell yeah.